Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. And this episode is very exciting because it is my first guest episode for January for this year. And it is also
Ooh.
tying up January. It's the last episode of January 2021. So it's like a segue into the year. First episode, good vibes, so delicious. But I would like to welcome Melanie Ann Layer of the Alpha Femme Brand. Hello!
Woo! Hello. Oh, what an introduction. I am very, very happy and excited to be the interview of January, and I feel very special. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you are very special. I had written down a big introduction and it's just fallen away and I don't even want to look at it now. So I'm just going to keep going and see what happens. But
Deal.
Melanie, you are so delicious. I would love it if you could potentially just introduce yourself in a short summary, even though it's very long because you've had quite the journey, and just let us know how you got to where you are now. Like, can we get a little bit of your backstory?
So here's what I will say. Depending on who you would ask in life, you would get different versions of who I am. If you asked my mother, I'm her daughter, I'm her kid. I've been through a whole bunch of things and I am where I am now. If you ask Kevin, if you ask my clients, if you ask the world, you would get a million different versions of who I am. But who I am with everything together, I think, is just a woman who is very committed to being a part of the world being a better place. And my way of doing that is by really leading myself in my life, for me, for my clients, my followers, and for the world. I keep in mind my leadership position in everything I do, and I learn very fast. I learn lessons very fast. I'm absolutely not perfect. I'm a human, navigating this life, but I try to be an example of what's possible and try to be everything that I can in this one life. I'm going for it all. So my journey started when I was 25 and I went bankrupt and I broke up with my partner and he fired me because he was my boss. My whole life went down the toilet. And I was very mad and bitter at everybody because it felt like everything, like I was a nice person and everything was happening to me and it wasn't very fair. And then I had this journey of taking my own power back, like really reclaiming my power as a woman, understanding my womanhood, understanding that I had a lot more of a say in my life than I thought, and taking radical self-responsibility for a lot of things that I hadn't before, and realizing that life was happening for me. And I created this new version of myself, one that would live life differently, and started becoming a coach slowly but surely, and was an invisible coach at first, only taking referral clients and really leading myself and doing the work for myself and kind of working with women who were led to work with me through referrals. And eventually I started the Alpha Femme Brand in 2017. And that really took off on social media. I was so mind blown and shocked by the evolution of that brand. It's now $1 million a month business, and it helps women all over the world. And it's a mirror of me. The business grows, I grow, I learn from it. It's just like a bigger scale of who I am. So as I navigate myself, the business expands, and it's just an awesome life project, and I'm so proud to lead it.
Oh, I love that. I love your evolution as well. And I could listen to how you speak about your story. I've been in 1,000,005 of all your masterclasses and everything. And every time there is something a little bit different about it. And I love listening to how you speak and things like that. With your coaching, you've coined the three main things, the trifecta.
Yes.
Can we talk about the delicious trifecta, please?
Yes, of course. So for me, the trifecta are like the three distinct areas that changed my life. And it was these three identities that when I really learned to embody them, everything started to shift in my life. So the identities are the boss, the badass, and the goddess. What I found is that when I'm just looking at myself as this one person, there's a million parts of me. There's so many little parts of me and things that I want and ways that I want to be. And when I'm thinking of doing things, it's such a different thing than focusing on being a certain way in my life. So when I ever wanted to do something, I'd have to push myself to do it. Because if I was in badass mode, which is like my doing mode, and I felt like I needed a break, I wouldn't let myself because it would feel like I couldn't. And if I was in relaxing mode, I felt like I needed to do something, but then I didn't want to because I was relaxing. So I kind of realized that, in fact, we all have these different identities that we've got to learn to navigate in our lives. And there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with the part of you that wants to go out and do things. And mainstream media says, you know, you shouldn't be hustling and you shouldn't be working so hard and you need to be in feminine energy. And then there's the other old masculine paradigm that's like, if you want to have the life you want, you got to work hard and you got to get it and you got to work hard and you got to get it and you got to hustle. And then it's like, well, what is the right answer? I don't know what to do. So what I realize is that, in fact, we're all of it. You know, there's a part in me that is the goddess, like the pleasure driven woman that just wants to receive and wants to be taken care of and wants to love my life and wants to be grateful for what I have. And, you know, she doesn't care about the expensive things in life. She wants to be renegade. She wants to live in the wild. She wants to just be free and young and she just loves life. And then there's this other part of me that's like, let's get it done. Let's build a business. Let's become a millionaire, leave a legacy, do the thing. And it's like, you know, what if neither of them are wrong? Yeah. So I started diving into these identities. At first, it was just the two of being this goddess and being this badass and having these two identities. But I realized there's a third identity. And the third identity is the one where you actually get paid. And the one where you get paid is the boss. And it's like a mix of the badass and the goddess together. Because in order to get paid, you've got to be able to do what you got to do in badass energy, but then you've actually got to lean back and trust in feminine energy and receive the money. So many of us are such good hustlers. We work our butt off, but then we feel guilty about making money. We feel guilty about getting paid. We don't know how to price our stuff. We're afraid people won't buy. There's all these money crazy things that get into our heads. So these three identities now shape and govern my life. And it's this like, I know what I've got to do and I do it. My word is law. My word is worth more than my signature on paper. If I say I'm going to do it, I do it. That's it. My goddess energy is I am not ever going to feel guilty for just being. I get to have time off as much as I desire. I built this business for freedom. So I'm allowed to have this time off. And I want to be an example of what time off looks like. And I desire pleasure and passion and beauty in my life. And I get to have that. And it gets to be amazing. I get to live in gratitude. And it's not always, you know, running to the next step always. And I get to be very, very rich and I get to help people make a lot of money. And there's nothing wrong with that. We get to have it all. So these are like the three main topics: boss, badass, goddess.
Oh my Lord, how delish. They all just do really flow into different identities, but within the one bubble as well. You can't have one without the other, really. Like they all just quite match so seamlessly, don't they?
Yeah, and if you try to live without one, you'll feel incomplete. Yeah. So might as well just embody them all.
Yes, I love it. And I feel like for like where you are now, from where you were in your, was it a little Honda Civic? I feel like you would have needed to be so brave and do lots of scary things to get to where you are now. Like, are there times where you sit back and you think, holy fork, look at me. How did I do this? But then also,
still think that.
Yeah.
I still wonder that. I'm like, how am I here? But the thing is, it's one move at a time. It's always just one move at a time. So it doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of people are waiting for it to make sense. I know that's what I used to do when I first started, was like, this is eventually going to make sense. You know, I'm going to do this until it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. When it makes sense, I'll do it. When I'm not afraid, when I'm not terrified, I'll do it. When I'm sure it's going to work, I'll do it. It just doesn't. And as fast as you're blown away by what you do, you want something more. It's even bigger than your brain can comprehend already. You're like, now I kind of want that thing. I don't even know how I've got what I've got. How do I navigate this? So it's like, I'm mind blown by what I've done, but I also know that it didn't make sense. One of my favorite things I say to my clients is, you're going to wonder how to do it until you wonder how you did it. And that's really what it ends up being. You're just going to blow your mind the whole way. So might as well just keep doing that.
Yes, I love that. And one thing that I learned from you very, very early on was, and it's a quote that I still say in my head all the time, but it's confidence is courage compounded, or the other way around.
It is.
Can you talk to me and the Walnuts a little bit about confidence and courage and how they morph into one way of being?
So the thing is, you can't wait until you're confident, because there's two ways that confidence becomes a thing. Either when the results are in, you're confident because you've got evidence that it worked, or because you've done it so often that you just know what you're doing. like learning how to tie your shoes. You're confident now in how to tie your shoes because of how many times you tied your shoes. So the first time you tied your shoes, someone was like, here's how you do it. One little rabbit ear, the other little rabbit ear, and then you do it, and then you couldn't do it, and you're getting very frustrated. And now you could do a million things at the same time and be tying your shoelaces, and you don't think about it. So you're confident in doing what you're doing because you've done it so many times. But the first time you did it, and you didn't know how to do it, and you're getting frustrated with yourself, you had to be brave to try again when you were embarrassed, when you didn't know how to do it. Same thing when we started to walk. You know, we had to be brave when we were little kids and we didn't know, and the ground felt so far to fall down, and we didn't want to get up and we didn't want to do it, but we did it. We didn't know how to read, we didn't know how to write, we didn't know how to do anything, but we just did it. We were brave and we did it. And as we grow up, our biggest fear is pain. We're afraid, like we understand what's not at stake more. So we're looking at all the potential ways we can fail, and there's all this impending doom flying around us, like, oh my gosh, if I fail, this will happen. If I fail, this will happen. So we're waiting to be confident as though one day we won't be scared anymore, but that doesn't really happen. Either you're going to become really good at the thing because you've done it so much, or you're going to find out you're excellent at it and then you won't be scared anymore. But in the beginning stages, there's only what if it doesn't work and what if it works. There's nothing else. You have no evidence. So you've got to be brave. It's got to just be like, yeah, it could all fail and I'm going anyway. So the reason I say, you know, confidence is compounded courage, it's because you're courageous and you're courageous again, and then you're courageous again, and you're courageous again, you're courageous again, and then one day the results are in. So you don't need to be courageous because you know what you're doing. So now you're confident. But you got to be confident. You got to be courageous till you're confident. That's the sequence.
I love that. And I'm a big baby step mover as well. So like I sometimes get a little bit triggered and intimidated when I see like, oh my God, I quit my job and I did all these things. But I'm a person who's like, well, I was really scared, and then I asked the lady for the pen and I felt like $1 million afterwards. So like I think it's really important as well. Like the big grand things are really scary and amazing, but that's not to discredit the smaller things as well, following that sequence at the same time, because you have to start somewhere, right?
Like anything that requires confidence or anything that requires courage is life-changing.
Yeah.
And this is why when I'm giving you the example, I'm literally using the example of the shoelace. Like, is there anything more simple than that? It's in the little things in life that you choose to be brave that your life changes on a huge stage. And I know that a lot of times, even for me, like people listening to me being like, okay, this woman has a business that makes so much money. It doesn't even make sense. I don't even understand. I get that, because I remember being there and listening to people who were making like $20,000 a month, and my brain was like blown. I was like, what?
Yeah.
How? You're rich. You're so rich. How are you doing that? So I remember that, and it was not all that long ago. But what's important to know is there's different stages that will inspire you. And there are sometimes stages that are just too big to be in it too often. Like I might be the person in the beginning that you look up to from time to time, come and spy, be like, okay, what is she up to? This is what's possible. Okay, this is awesome. And then you stop looking and you go find a coach that's maybe just 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, that's doing just the next little step. And you do that. And that's the person that you've got in your ears every day, the one that's closer to you, that's doing things that light you up. Because there's not much of a point listening to people that just drive you insane and make you mad because they're so far from where you are. But glancing at them from once in a while and being like, oh gosh, I get so inspired by that. Okay, back to my own lane. Let me go find someone that's closer to where I am so I can move. Because I am aware that sometimes looking at me and what I'm doing feels like, well, I don't know how I'll ever do that. But I didn't know how I do this, and I'm here anyway. So glance at me from time to time, but walk with someone who's just a couple of steps ahead. And one day you'll realize it's not so impossible, the thing I'm doing.
I love that. And I definitely am not glancing at you. I love watching everything that you do. I think you're so delicious. But one thing that you say, which I really appreciate and admire as well, is you've said a few times, I'm not special, I just did the thing, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You were just a person like me, like the Walnuts listening, and now you're like all of this.
This is the crazy thing. It's like I wasn't special for it to happen. I just did the things and then I became special. Now people say, oh yeah, but it's easy for you because you have this, or I'm like, but I didn't. Like, where did the line happen where I didn't have it and now I do? And now all of a sudden people are like, well, I can't listen to you because you're too far ahead. And I'm like, it was months ago, years ago, that I felt the exact same way. How did I get here? So I want to be an example of trust, that you can have whatever you want, that you can do whatever you want, that you can be whatever you want. And I'm very well aware that it's sometimes hard, as you were saying before, you get triggered when you see people make massive moves. And I'm always talking about massive moves and massive leaps. But my intention is just to always be a sparkling light in the future for you, like wherever you are on your walk to self-actualization, that no matter how far you want to climb and no matter what, like there's a little light up there that's shining for you to know, like there's a next level after this. And I remember what it was like, and I know how fast things can change. And I just want to be an example, but I don't want anybody to ever compare themselves and feel like they're less, or that there's something missing, because I remember that feeling, and we don't need it. Like anything can change in an instant. Just trust yourself, one small move at a time, and next thing you know, you're in a completely different reality.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like that shining light up above, like you do exemplify that with such like humility and authenticity and grace. And I think that's why I'm just obsessed with you, because you just are so you know how I'm feeling in the now, even though you're like all those steps in front of me, if that kind of makes sense. So I just really appreciate what you do and how you do it. It's delicious. You're amazing.
It means so much to me. And I think that the fact that I was there, like I started this whole thing from bankrupt with no social media presence, I remember what it feels like. And that's why I believe so profoundly in human beings, because like, if I could do it, we can all do it. So let's just do it. But I'm aware that sometimes I may not be the right voice right now. Right now, maybe it's too big, but I'll always be there as an example.
Yeah, and what you do have as well, I mean, you've got a lot of offers where people can be in your energy. You've got your group, and you do masterclasses all the time, and you've got some how would you call them, like low level offers that people can be with you and follow along with you, even in the earlier stages of whatever they are being, right?
Yes, in 2020, I really created some amazing things people can plug into in earlier stages, but it's not that the content is beginner. It's not like it's an earlier staged program. I'm still speaking to you at the level of power I speak to right now. But, I would say the difference is that it's a smaller amount of time and the price point is more accessible, but that you can always expect the same standard of communication with me. You're going to be in a program with me. You're going to be in a program with women who are making 6 figures a month, 6 figures a year, 5 figures a month, ones that are just starting. You're always going to be in a room with so many different kinds of women. And that's what I love about the Alpha Femme brand, is it brings people together. There isn't really that hierarchy of like, oh, you can only be here if you're very, very rich. Even in my hypermind, even in my high-end offers, I've got women who are making 6 figures a year and women who are making 6 figures a month, all in the same container. It's about the courage and the spirit and the excitement of where you're going. That's what it's like to be part of the Alpha Femme brand. It's like you fit in wherever you are. It doesn't matter. Where do you want to go? Then let's go.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that about the brand. And you can feel that inside your communities that you have created as well, and with the people that like I've worked with a few of your past clients and things like that. Everyone just is their own, and everyone fits perfectly into the Alpha Femme in some way. It's really delish.
I love it.
Me too. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about, because it was a moment in time where I just was so consumed with so many different emotions. And I believe it was you have to correct me if I'm wrong, Melanie, but at the end of the Queens of the Internet, I believe, where you started talking and then you went down this path of you started talking about bullying, and I was like, where's she going with this? And then you ended up saying that Alpha Femme was going to match to every dollar of donations made towards the suicide prevention line or something like that. I don't remember the exact details, but because that's something that's close to my heart and close to many Walnut's hearts, but How did you feel in that moment when you decided that you were going to do that? Like, I feel like I was in my head thinking, I can't wait to one day be able to contribute to something like this with that much impact. And yeah, can you talk us through like how that went for you?
So sometimes I can't believe that I'm here. And the world I've built around me is a very beautiful world, but there are people that are very hurt still.
Mm,
In any industry, even something as beautiful as the coaching industry, there are still people who show up with a lot of wounding, and when they do that, they're trigger sensitive, and they get mad very fast. They get upset at people that don't share the same opinion. They feel jealous if someone has something they feel they should have, and they say mean things, and they make people feel like they don't belong. And I was bullied my whole life. And when I came into the social media world, my biggest fear was that I was going to get eaten alive and bullied all over again. So for the longest time, I was the invisible coach, and I wouldn't let myself even out into the public eye out of fear of what people would say. And when things started to work for me, and I started building this incredible community, what really came through for me is like, why try to fit in my whole life if what I was actually supposed to do was stand out and create a whole new paradigm of my own, where women actually can be together in success and in the road to success when you haven't figured it out yet. Wealthy women and women who are just getting started, women who found the relationships of their dreams, and women who've been single for what seems like forever, or are just leaving difficult relationships, women who've had friends their whole life, and women who don't even know what it's like to belong. What happens when everyone fits? And my dream and my hope was that everyone would always feel they could fit in. But that's impossible, because then there's the people who don't like that everyone gets to come to the party. Then there's the people who don't belong, or that don't believe that everybody can actually belong in the party. And they're thinking, no, this is too good to be true, and they start looking for problems. So no matter what I ever tried to create, no matter how pure my heart was, and no matter how incredible the women I attracted in my life were, it was impossible to create a bully-free environment. There was always one person, one thing that would happen, and I'd be like, gosh, why is this happening?
mm-hmm.
And it was the craziest thing, because when I decided that I wanted to create this opportunity to raise funds for the suicide prevention hotline, the idea was, I want to be able to give back to the people who are suffering that I can't help, the ones that are suffering that are brave enough to come get help. Like I know that for a long time I wasn't brave enough to go get help, and I was too afraid I wasn't going to be good enough, and I couldn't have helped myself back then in the worst of it, because I didn't have what it took to go lead myself into a place where I could be helped. But that hotline, it matters, because it's for the people who can't necessarily move themselves to change, but they can at least move themselves to not quit. And that was such an important piece to me. And I know that it's like giving back. If I'm able to make it here, if I'm able to make it and survive my life and be here and be able to give back, then my biggest gift back is to give back what I needed at my very worst. Like, the only reason I exist and who I am today is because there are resources to help people who are not able to lead themselves. So I used to dream before being wealthy. I remember going to a Secrets of the Millionaire Mind seminar, and they were like, what's your dream? And my dream was to give $100,000 to charity in a year. And in my mind, it was like, if I could do that, that would be incredible. So when we were able to do that this year, it was one of the most impactful moments of my life, because it's like giving to people that don't even know really who you are, it's giving without a thank you. It's giving because it matters. It's giving because it's needed. It's giving because it's giving back. And I give back in different ways, but that felt like a next level way. So it just felt like a full circle moment for me, to be honest. It felt like giving back to the source that got me here. I can't explain it, but it was a very beautiful moment.
Oh, that's such a lovely way, to describe it, because I remember watching it and thinking, like I wanted to do a live in my group, but I had to do it on video because I just started bawling my eyes out. I just started crying, so I had to post a video instead. But I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to be in a position where I can contribute to that in some way. And I didn't even know that that was something I wanted until I saw that, because I'd just been working so hard on my inner work, my trying to work to get myself not necessarily help, but get to that next stage of confidence and feeling good about who I am, that I didn't even realize that, oh my gosh, one day that would be something that I would want to do. And it was just such a amazing moment. And I can't even imagine what it must have felt like being with you and your team on that day, and how much it was just going up and up and up. And it was just so beautiful. I remember watching it just like in tears, thinking, oh, amazing, beautiful. Like, yeah, it was really cool.
It was one of my favorite moments of my career.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine that so much. And so, yeah, thank you from anyone who is thankful for this. I just am so grateful for you to have been able to do that. Yeah, thank you so much. You're delicious.
That means everything. I love when you say that. Aww. Delicious. You have the best. It sounds so good when you say it.
Oh, thank you. It must be my twangy Kiwi accent.
I love it.
So just before we wrap up, beautiful, what do you want to let the Walnuts know where to find you? Obviously, they know I'm obsessed with you, so they probably are already following you anyway. But in the instance that there is a Walnut listening who's this chick, can you please let us know where we can find you on the internet?
So I am a social media lady. I don't have a website unless you want to buy Alpha Femme stuff like a crystal water bottle or stuff, and you want to see my Shopify store that's got a few things on it. But if not, to find me and where I am and to learn about my stuff and follow my words and my journey is just Alpha Femme on Instagram or Melanie Ann Layer on Facebook. Just be my friend, come into my world, and then you will know all the things.
Delish. Wonderful. And do you have anything that you feel like you haven't said or would like to say to any of the listening Walnuts who maybe aren't feeling like $1 million right now? Anything?
I want you to know that life is going to change every day until the end. Every day, something will change. Even if you don't know really what you want to do right now, one day that will change. Even if you don't know how to do it right now, one day that will change. The only thing that won't change is that while you're alive and you're here, all that really matters is that you enjoy your life. And all that really matters is that you're becoming the best version of you that you can be for you first. Not trying to make anybody else think you're amazing, not to try to make anybody else proud of you, not to try to be good enough for anybody else, just your journey for your life. So if you can just do that while you're figuring yourself out, just how can you be the best version of you for you? How can you be happier? How can you enjoy life more? How can you make your story a story that you'll be excited to talk about when you're old and gray? Like if that can be the focus for your life right now, everything else will come together and it will make sense eventually. And if it doesn't make sense today, don't worry about it. Just be the happiest you can possibly be and everything will come together.
I love that. I have little goosebumps on every part of my body. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. And just before I let you carry on with your day, I have one token question that I ask to everybody who visits us on the podcast, and that is, what does being a walnut mean to you?
I would say that being a walnut means that you can see part of what I am on the outside. By looking at me and my shell, you could make a very close assumption of what I am. But it isn't until you get inside that you know actually how it tastes, how it smells, how it is, and the experiential taste of the nut. Like, what is it really like to dive into me and my world and to understand the nuances of who I am and what I am? That's only once you get inside the shell. So you can spend your entire life, thinking that people are walnuts just because you know what the shell of a walnut looks like, but it isn't until you've really experienced one that you know what's on the inside. So not judging people for the walnut shell.
I love that. That's such a beautiful analogy, and I've got lots of pictures in my brain about that. But yeah, that's a beautiful description of one. Thank you so much.
It makes my absolute day. I'm so happy I was able to be here with you today.
Okay, well, Walnut, if you enjoyed this episode, let us know on all the social medias. You can tag me at Walnut Wednesday or Melanie at Alpha Femme, and let us know what you liked about it and how you're feeling and all the things. And Melanie, one more time, I'm so obsessed with you. I love you. Thank you so much for your time and for your energy and for all you do for us. You do so much for everybody in this world that chooses to pop in and see you and be with you. So just thank you so much.
You're wonderful. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Love you. Bye, everyone.
Love